Mishnah 15, chapter 1, Mishnah 15. This Mishnah is authored by Shammai. So remember Hillel and Shammai, right? So they were the two pairs. Shammai was the head of the court. Um, he actually took the place of someone whose name was Menachem, who had gone to work for the government. And there's some opinions that say that this Mishnah that we're about to do is directed to him, and it's a message to him of how to conduct himself when he is now changing, instead of being the head of the Sanhedrin, which was immersed in Torah all day, and now he's going to be in politics, and all kinds of things could happen. So you have here the Mishnah. The Mishnah begins, Shammai Omer. Hang on a second. Somebody's coming in. Okay, here we go. Let me just let people in. And there we go. Shammai Omer, Shammai said that Asay Torascha Keva, make your Torah permanent. So here it says, make your Torah study fixed, which is definitely already an interpretation. If you want to take it literally, make your Torah Keva is set, permanent, fixed, if you will. That's what we're going to concentrate on today. The rest of the Mishnah, to put it in context, Emor ma'at v'aseh harbe, say little and do a lot. V'hevei mekabel es kol ha'adam v'seder ponim yafos, and receive every person with a nice face, a good countenance, cheerful countenance. You should smile at everybody when you see them. Okay, so we're going to look at Aseh Torascha Keva, and again, because of the way the Hebrew, this leaves it open to many ways of looking at the wording. So when it says your Torah, this interpretation here is your Torah study. And in fact, Rashi looks at it from the point of view of Torah study, to make your Torah study primary, that should be the main thing you are doing. And in terms of the idea from Rashi's point of view is, that's what you should be doing all the time. Don't say, oh, I have a 9 o'clock class and that's it, or my 12:15 class and that's it. It should be that's the main thing. You're doing it all the time, and everything else you'll squeeze into your day as you need to get it done. Another angle that Rashi also talks about is also this idea of set specific times, but set specific times said to study 4 or 5 chapters, a certain amount of ground you're going to cover. That's how Rashi reads it. Rambam, a little similar, but also a little different in terms of making it your main thing and everything else is secondary, which according to Rambam is like, that's, you can squeeze in everything else, but mainly your main time is for Torah study. There's a Gemara in Brachos that tells us that Rabbi Bar Chana, he said he quoted Rabbi Yochanan, who said in the name of Yehuda that there's a difference between, this is in the time of the Talmud, he's saying, look at the difference between the previous generations and the present generation. So the present generation he's talking about is still more than 1,500 years ago. He said the earlier generations, they made their Torah permanent and their work was occasional. And they were successful in both their studies and in terms of their making a living. The later generations, as we're in their times, that they made their work permanent and they made their Torah occasional, and neither was successful. So he's that when we make the Torah the primary, then we will be successful even in our other endeavors. And again, it's a mindset also, and this is the Torah mindset, is that what's the purpose in life? So is the goal to work? The goal is not to work. Work is a means to an end. Work is a necessity in order for us to be able to live the life that we should be living. Unfortunately, we have to work. If you didn't have to work, so how would you fill your time, right? So the idea is you would fill your time in a Torah way, and that's the main goal. Rabbeinu Yonah quotes from what's called Avos Torah Nason, that again, if a person makes his work his main occupation in terms of like, and it's not just a matter of time here, it's a matter of mindset. Obviously, if someone has a job and you have to make a living and you have to work, we'll call it 8 hours a day, whether it's 7 or 8. I mean, some people have to work more in order to make a living, but let's assume, you have a regular job that's, we'll call it 9 to 5. 8 hours a day is quite a bit of time. And therefore, you might say, well, I have to work 8 hours a day, so I don't have time for a lot of other things. That may be true. But what's your mindset? Is your mindset that that's the most important thing? Or is your mindset is, I have to go to work because I have to make a living, and everything else is the most important thing? And certainly in terms of Torah, but we could take this mindset in terms of, we talk nowadays of work-life balance, right? Outside of the Torah idea, just in terms of general quality of life, general family, etc. We know there are certain people who spend their whole lives working, and then they neglect their family and they neglect others, and they end up, having other issues in their social life because they're never there to create relationships, right? So that's a factor as well. In our case, where Torah is the primary, and everything else fits into that. Along those lines, there's also the idea that when you are, first of all, when you are learning, should be able to concentrate. Make it clear, to make what you learn keva, to make it permanent, to make it set, that you're able to know it and put it in to be fixed for you. Make it your own. I say Torahscha, make your Torah, make it yours. That sometimes we read things or we learn things, and we're sort of out there. Make it a part of yourself. We make it internalize the teachings, and then you own it. And another important idea is the idea of what's the center. What is the center? Is the center whether it would be your job or other activities, or your sports team, or is the center the Torah? And the Torah is the center. Make the Torah the fixed point, as in the thing that everything else revolves around. And therefore, all decisions that you make, that whether or not you're going to live in a certain place, whether or not you're going to take a certain job, should be dependent on Torah. Whether or not is this going to enable you to live a Torah life, or is it not going, or is it going to take away from it? And if it's going to take away from it, then that's something that we should most likely not be doing. If it's going to enable it, then for sure that would be a good thing. So the idea of it being a fixed point, in terms of that's the a lot of things can revolve, a lot of things can move. There are certain things that they don't move. Everything else moves around it, and that's the idea. Another idea of making a Torah keva. Another way of understanding it as well, and this is something that is also brought down by commentaries, that when you are making halachic decisions, you're deciding, how to do things, whether or not you take this opinion or that opinion, you got to be fixed. Don't say, what, well, first of all, for me, I'm going to do it this way, and for everybody else, they can do it that way. So I'm going to be lenient for me, but I'm going to be stringent for you. Right? I'm going to say you have to do it. You have to take the more stringent opinion, but I'm going to take the lenient opinion, or vice versa. Even like I'm going to do this. You don't have to do it. You don't have to do anything, right? That's not appropriate either. It should be, this is the halacha. This is the way we do it, and that's how we all do it. Another idea in the same vein is, I always do it this way. It's not something like, oh, today I'll take this idea, tomorrow I'll do it differently, to another day I'll take this opinion. Right? We have to stay straight. When I say Torahscha keva, make your Torah a set thing, that it's going to be standard. You don't want it to be where every day you have a new opinion and you're doing it a different way, because that's not really what Torah is about. That's about your decision of, today I've decided it. So the concept of, in general, of all these ideas, is that Torah is the focal point, and that's everything else that we do. Our decisions and our actions are all based on what is it that the Torah tells us to do. And we will hold it there. Have a great day, everyone.